Welcome to Underworld UK, where Britain's darkest stories are brought to light. From the gritty streets of gangland London, Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham, from Curtis Warren to the Cray twins to county lines and modern day true crime, we cover everything. Bringing you new videos every week. Subscribe so that you'll be notified when the next video is put out.
Behind steel bars and towering concrete walls sits a facility unlike any other in Britain, a maximum security fortress reserved for the most notorious criminals, killers, extremists, those deemed too dangerous for even the standard prison system. This is the place known in the press as Monster Mansion. In this video, we'll take you inside the lives and stories of 6 of Britain's most feared inmates, their crimes, their captures, their trails, and the brutal reality of life inside the UK's most secure prison. We begin by exploring the prison itself before diving into each case. Then we'll examine what living in the worst confines the state can offer really means. The institution, known formally as HM Prison Wakefield, sits in West Yorkshire. It is a Category A prison, housing men for whom release is judged not safe, sometimes never. It has earned its ominous nickname through the roster of inmates it has held: serial killers, mass murderers, terrorists, and those deemed irredeemable. To understand this facility is to understand the stakes. Standard prison wings are replaced by reinforced cells, limited freedoms and isolation. The stories we're about to tell each end up here, because the system decided that no other containment would suffice. From there, we move into the individual stories, each a dark mirror of Britain's worst crimes. Here we go, in no particular order. Robert Maudsley. Born in June 1953 in Speke, Liverpool, Robert John Maudsley had a childhood marked by trauma. He was the 4th of 12 children, spent early years in an orphanage, and returned to a home where he reported regular beatings and even sexual abuse by his father. His first murder came in March 1974, when a 30-year-old whom he picked up for sex boasted about abusing children. Maudsley strangled him. While in Broadmoor Hospital, he and an inmate tortured a convicted child molester for 9 hours and killed him in 1977. The press claimed he had eaten part of the victim's brain, now disproved, but the myth stuck, earning him the monikers Hannibal the Cannibal and the Brain Eater. In July 1978, at the Wakefield facility, he killed 2 inmates in one day, Salney Darwood and William Roberts. The second death was particularly calculated. After the killing, he walked to the wing office, placed the weapon on the desk and calmly announced to guards, "The next roll call will be too short." It was declared that he posed such a risk that a special glass-fronted cell was built for him in the basement of Wakefield, a bulletproof perspex and concrete chamber from which he is escorted under tight guard for his 1 hour of exercise a day. He himself wrote, "It does not matter to them whether I am mad or bad. They do not know the answer, and they do not care, just so long as I am kept out of sight and out of mind." His story forces us to ask, what happens when a human being is deemed too dangerous even to share a cell block? What is the mental and moral impact of solitary decades long? Dangerous inmate number 2, Harold Shipman. Dr. Harold Shipman was a trusted general practitioner, the figure of medical caregiving. Yet between 1995 and 1998, he murdered at least 215 of his patients, mostly elderly women. Only 15 counts were tried, but the scale of his crimes made him Britain's most prolific serial killer. In October 1999, his trial at Preston Crown Court concluded with his conviction on 15 murders and 1 count of forging a will. On 31st January 2000, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a recommendation of a whole life tariff. At Wakefield, he was placed on standard rules, but his privileges were stripped, his status downgraded, his TV removed. He wore the prison uniform, the trust he once held in life entirely reversed. Shipman never publicly admitted to all his crimes. At sentencing, the judge told him, "You murdered each and every one of your victims by a calculated and cold-blooded perversion of your medical skills. For your own evil and wicked purpose, you took advantage and grossly abused the trust each of your victims placed in you." His death in January 2004 by suicide inside his cell at Wakefield sealed his story. The horrors of his betrayal of trust, his hidden killings, and the legacy of systemic failure all meet inside the walls of Monster Mansion.
Next, an absolute monster, the scum that is called Ian Huntley. On the 4th of August 2002, in Soham, Cambridgeshire, Ian Huntley, a school caretaker, lured 10-year-old Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman into his home. Their bodies were discovered on 4th of August. Huntley's trial opened on 5 November 2003 at the Old Bailey. On 17 November 2003, he was found guilty of both murders. In September 2005, a judge set his minimum term at 40 years, one of the longest at that time in England. Inside prison, he has been attacked by other inmates. He was subjected to a makeshift knife assault and has complained about his treatment. He once claimed he was being treated like an animal inside custody. His story touches the raw nerve of society's worst fears. A man who worked among children, betrayed that trust and destroyed 2 lives. Behind prison walls, he joins the ranks of those isolated, separated from the general population, marked by the nature of his crime. Number 3. Jeremy Bamber. On the night of 6-7 August 1985, at White House Farm in Essex, Jeremy Bamber's adoptive parents, Neville and June, his sister, Sheila Caffell, and her twin 6-year-old sons, Daniel and Nicholas, were murdered. Bamber claimed he rang police saying his father had reported, "Sheila's gone berserk with one of my guns." At his trial in October-November 86, at Chelmsford Crown Court, he was found guilty of all 5 murders and given a whole life order, no possibility of release. He denies involvement, maintaining his sister committed the killings, and his legal team continues to argue for review. Within custody, he has been attacked with a knife while making a telephone call. Bamber's story is not about a serial murderer over time, but a shocking family massacre, the betrayal of wealth, status and trust. He ended up in the highest security, deemed a threat so severe that his release is formally excluded. His case adds the dimension of mass family murder to the roster of worst of the worst. Number 4. Charles Bronson. Born Michael Peterson, Charles Bronson rose to infamy not for a series of murders, but for his reputation as Britain's most violent prisoner. After an armed robbery conviction in 1974, he became notorious inside prison for hostage-taking, sieges and confrontation. In 2000, he received a discretionary life sentence after holding a prison teacher hostage for 44 hours. His behavior inside custody was so extreme that he spent large portions of his incarceration in solitary, special units, moved between prisons, and claimed PTSD from brutal and unacceptable treatment in the system. He has said things like, "I love a rumble, what man doesn't?" and likened his behavior in hearings to TV shows, a mixture of spectacle, media, and prison violence. Bronson's story shows a different side, not a killer in the traditional sense, but a prisoner whose violence became legendary. His tenure inside high-security Britain illuminates how the system handles those who break every rule they ever encounter. Number 5. Peter Sutcliffe. Between 1975 and 1980, Peter Sutcliffe murdered 13 women and attacked 7 others across northern England. For years he eluded police while women lived in fear of the Ripper who struck at night. His trial concluded in 1981 when he pleaded not guilty by reason of diminished responsibility. The jury rejected that plea and found him guilty on all counts within 6 hours of deliberation. He was given 20 life sentences. In a rare letter sent from prison years later, he wrote to a journalist, "I did some bad things." His crime had a chilling psychological dimension. He believed voices told him he must kill prostitutes. His time working as a gravedigger gave him a macabre sense of purpose. Sutcliffe's incarceration spanned secure hospitals, then maximum prisons. He died 2020, still in custody. His story reminds us that the worst of criminals sometimes include those driven by warped ideology, self-justified mission, and terror spread across society. His presence in Monster Mansion adds that ideological dimension to the catalogue of Britain's most dangerous. Number 6. Thomas Mair. On 16-17 June 2016, Mair attacked Joe Cox MP outside a constituency surgery in Birstall, West Yorkshire. He shot her 3 times with a modified .22 bolt action rifle and stabbed her at least 15 times. A bystander, 77-year-old Bernard Carter Kinney, was stabbed at also intervening. Mair was arrested about a mile from the scene shortly after. At his first court appearance, he refused to give his real name, instead declaring "Death to traitors, freedom for Britain." His house and computer use revealed significant far-right and extremist material, Nazi regalia, far-right books, material seen as evidence of ideologically motivated crime. At trial, the jury took about 90 minutes to convict him of murder, causing grievous bodily harm, possession of a firearm with intent, and possession of a dagger. On 23 November 2016, he was sentenced to a whole life tariff, meaning no possibility of release. The judge stated, "You are no patriot. By your actions, you have betrayed the quintessence of our country, its adherence to parliamentary democracy." Number 7, someone that was formerly at Monster Mansion but has since been moved. Levi Bellfield. Levi Bellfield, born Levi Rabbits, 17th May 1968, Isleworth, is an English serial killer, sex offender, kidnapper and burglar. His early criminal record included burglary in 1981, assaults, thefts and driving offences. By 2002, he had 9 convictions and had spent almost a year in prison. He was convicted on 25 Feb 2008 of murdering 19-year-old Marshall McDonnell and 22-year-old Amélie de Lagrange, and the attempted murder of 18-year-old Kate Sheedy. He received a life sentence with a whole life tariff, no possibility of release. On 23 June 2011, he was found guilty of abducting and murdering 13-year-old Millie Dowler in 2002 and was handed another whole life order. He is the first prisoner in England and Wales to receive 2 whole life orders. There are ongoing investigations and claims he may have committed other murders or violent attacks. For example, lawyers claim he made a detailed confession to the 1996 Hammer murders of Lynn Russell and her daughter Megan, though no further charges have yet been confirmed. Why tell these stories? Because the existence of a place like Monster Mansion says something about the society, the justice system, and its limits. It reveals that some crimes are so severe, so dangerous, that the only answer is lifetime containment. The cases of Shipman and Sutcliffe show how trusted roles and social facade can mask evil. Maudsley shows how institutional failure and early trauma can spiral into horror. Bamber shows wealth, privilege and ultimate ruin. Bronson shows violence as lifestyle inside prison. Huntley shows the betrayal of children. In each case, we are reminded of victims, families, the social cost. We are reminded that incarceration is not just about punishment, but about risk management. And we are reminded that behind every headline is a human being, damaged, dangerous, isolated behind concrete walls. As we leave the walls of Monster Mansion, we reflect on a question. What is the purpose of imprisoning the worst of the worsts? Is it deterrence, justice, vengeance, rehabilitation, or simply containment? For these 6 men and dozens more inside those cells, the answer was never rehabilitation. The system judged them beyond hope. And that's the harsh truth of Britain's most dangerous prison. It houses not just criminals, but our most extreme reflection of humanity when it collapses. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe and hit the bell for future deep dives into the UK's hidden criminal world. Until next time.